This episode of Sports Goofs is brought to you by Podcorn. We've been using Podcorn for a few months now, and what we enjoy most is the large amount of potential sponsors they offer and the easy user interface that allows us to pitch our proposals and collaborate to meet the sponsors' expectations. Podcorn is a marketplace connecting its podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities such as host read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. With Podcorn, there is no middleman. Podcasters of all sizes can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform, set their own rates, and collaborate with brands directly without any exclusivities. You never give up on any rights to your podcast, and Podcorn is here to support you at every step and ensure you're protected and compensated for the work that you do for brands. The marketplace mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when we monetize. Click the link in our show notes to sign up to Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities. Thank you, Podcorn. And now, let's get to the goofs. What's up, everybody? Sports Goofs here. Francisco here with my good buddies Andrew and Charles. Number 97. How are you guys doing? Charles,
This is our Hit Me Baby One More Time episode.
I guess.
1998.
Yeah.
It's a battle of the boy bands here, that's for sure.
Oh, boy. Yeah, 97. And this episode is once more sponsored by Podcorn for all of your sponsorship needs. You guys are looking to be sponsored out there for your own podcasts, or you're looking to sponsor a podcast for yourself, head on over to Podcorn. Plenty of people, plenty of opportunities. And we thank Podcorn for sponsoring us this episode. All right. So sports happened, everybody. Sports happened over the last week. I watched some games, not many. Over the last week, just my teams. I saw two Miami Heat games, the Heat versus the Magic, 1 and 2, the Heat versus the Bulls, and one game of my beloved first place Florida Panthers versus the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the revival of Sergei Bobrovsky. Hearing my...
Yeah, where the hell did he come?
He probably heard my... I called him Wei Yin Chen, and that probably really hurt his feelings. So he has responded in kind by being like the best goalie over the last month. Oh yeah, this month of March in the NHL. I think he's 6-0 over the last 6 games. The Panthers are on a roll. It doesn't even matter if they go down like a point or two during a game. It's just like they come back. I've told you, I told Charles this, and Andrew, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with a very good Florida Panthers team because I'm not used to it. We've only made the playoffs twice since I've been a fan, and 2016 was awesome. It really was, but this team feels different than 2016. So it feels a lot more complete, and Barkov is playing at Selk levels at the very least, maybe MVP. Jonathan Huberdeau, the same thing. Aaron Ekblad might win the Norris if he keeps playing like this. Like this is happening, guys, and I don't know what to make of it. Other than I'm happy, I'm optimistic. At the same time, like, you know, PTSD from all the times they hurt me in the past. And that's hard to let go. That's hard to let go for some of your teams. I'm sure some of you guys know about that. About rooting for a team that hurts you a lot, but gosh darn it, you keep coming back to them.
So what's changed about them? Just not to kind of dive in deep, but remember, I'm the uneducated.
All right, Andrew.
It seems like a lot of the same players.
You want to jump in with this, Andrew, with some hockey talk?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it. You haven't been on in a while.
I think part of it has to do with, well, kind of to your point, it's a lot of the same players. And I think over time, as guys kind of meld together, get used to each other. They tend to play more as a team. So I think that's part of it. Big part of it is that Bobrovsky is actually playing well. even if he isn't, he's getting enough offensive support to mitigate any issues.
Yep.
Like the past couple of games, I've seen him give up 3, 4, 5 goals, but the Panthers are somehow able to eke out one more than they need to. It kind of reminds me of something that Grant Fuhr, for those who don't know, Grant Fuhr was a iconic, famous goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers back in the 80s. He always said, I'm kind of paraphrasing, he said, I'm not giving up any goals in the third, just make sure you get one more than what I've let in. And that's kind of how Bobrovsky has been. He can be a sieve at times, but he's able to keep enough out, and the offense is able to put enough in that they keep winning.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, the Panthers have a pretty weak division this year.
It's slightly more top heavy than
it is.
There's wait. First off, let's say hello to King Retro Gaming. How you doing, my dude out there?
Aloha.
Yeah.
Yo.
We love retro gaming. That is for sure. And do you love sports?
Most of what we do is retro gaming.
Yeah, I just beat Fire and Ice on the NES yesterday, so that was my accomplishment yesterday. But yeah, to your point, Andrew. Yeah, it's been more top heavy. I mean, it looked like a really tough division when it started out because you had, of course, the defending Stanley Cup champions in Tampa, defending Western Conference champion in Dallas. You had Carolina, who's made the playoffs the last couple seasons and have been pretty good. Nashville Predators, the same thing. And the Columbus Blue Jackets. And from there, it was like the Panthers have always been kind of average to mediocre, and it's like, oh, this is going to be pretty tough for them to make the playoffs.
More importantly, you've got Chicago and Detroit.
Rebuilding Detroit, and Chicago, the surprise of the season so far in the division.
They're playing above
yeah.
what people expected them to.
Yeah, exactly. And the Dallas Stars are the disappointment of the division because... Look, when we had Johnny on our show like 3 or 4 episodes ago, check him out, Cats and Stats on the twits. So we talked about the Stars, and it seemed like, okay, because the Stars had so many stoppages due to the virus,
right?
That it's like, oh, these guys just can't get anything going. Well, there haven't been any stoppages, and they still can't get anything going. So
I mean,
they're +5 in goal differential, so it's just they're 500 team. They're just kind of in the middle.
Basically, what that means is they're winning a lot of close games and losing a lot of blowouts.
They have This is probably the silver lining for them. They have, get this, 6 games in hand on the Chicago Blackhawks,
wow.
who have the 4 spot and are up 9 points on the Stars. So it's not like the Stars can't get on not even a hot streak, probably just like a semi-hot streak, win 6 out of 10 or something, and probably be back in this. So it's not like it's completely gotten away from them.
And, luckily for the Stars, they have Anton Khudobin. And
he's been one of the lowlights so far this season, to be honest.
But when he's good, when he's on fire, he's en fuego.
Yeah, well,
he is not playing his age. He is 34, going to be 35 in about a month or so, a month and a half. He is not playing his age. When he's on his game, he'll stop anything. We're lucky as hell that we were able to beat him just enough in the Stanley Cup last year. But to wrap back around to kind of the second point about why the Panthers are doing so well, I think credit must be given to Joe Quenneville.
Yeah, I mean,
aside from the one thing that really stands out is that boneheaded.
The challenge.
So what happened was, I think it was against the Blue Jackets
or Nashville.
something.
I think it was Nashville. It was Nashville.
Like a month or two ago, there was a not that close call.
It was an offsides challenge.
It was an offside challenge.
And
I mean, maybe in real time it was close, but if you have a person watching the monitor, which I think they do,
yeah, they have like an iPad or something
there was
like that.
no chance in hell that was going to be overturned.
The biggest thing, it was the wrong thing to do given the momentum of the game.
And here's the other thing, though. So if you challenge a play, Charles, if you challenge a play in the NHL and you lose the challenge, you're given a 2-minute minor for delay of game.
So the other team gets a power play.
So, that?
Yeah, it was because at first the replay rule was introduced, and most of the time the coaches would do it just for offsides calls, and it was for I guess the old heads of the NHL. For a lot of them, it was slowing the game down too much. So, as a way to kind of disincentivize coaches from doing that, they added a penalty to it, where if you lose on it, you lose not only your timeout, which was the original rule, but then they added that you also are placed a minor penalty. So it's kind of like Mario Party 1, where if you lose a minigame, you lose 10 coins. So it got really tough.
The thing about timeouts in hockey, even though you get one, in reality, 95% of the time, it's never used. It just goes to waste. It's not like football. In reality, the only time a team would really use it is if you're down 1 or 2 goals. You're going to be taking a face-off in the offensive zone, and you're going to get the opportunity to pull your goalie.
Mm-hmm.
So it just gives you a little bit of time to strategize.
Yeah.
To figure out.
Rarely are timeouts used to actually give the guys a break, unless you've been stuck in your own zone for like ever, and you can't get out, and and if you throw it out for an icing, the guys have to stay on the ice anyways. So you're just trying to give the guys a breather, but most of the time it's the scenario Andrew was talking about.
So their timeouts are never used, so that's why it was kind of a.
But yeah, that game was awful because it was the momentum of the game, because the Panthers were playing awful, but Bobrovsky was in net and he wasn't stopping anything. And it was like, why would you put the guys? Why would in such an iffy call that you would put the guys in that position? And of course, they gave up the game-tying goal when it's overtime. Then they lost in overtime. So it was
back up really quick. So a goal was scored on the play that was challenged.
Yeah, on the ensuing power play,
3 to 5-4.
But
and the challenge was called. So it remained 5-4 because it was not reversed. On the power play, they score the game-tying goal, take it to overtime, and they lose in the shootout.
That was probably the worst loss of the first month of the season. But since then, the Panthers were playing pretty consistently since then. And of course, the revelation now is that Bobrovsky is actually playing up to his contract, more or less, for the most part. He's playing enough. He's playing well enough for them to justify starting him over and over again over Chris Driedger. And another thing because one of the questions from Charles was, what's the difference now compared to last season? And a lot of that you can also give credit to our brand new general manager, Barry Zito, because he comes in and brings in guys that are contributing to this. Carter Verhaeghe from Tampa Bay.
Right.
He was signed as a free agent. He wasn't going to flourish in Tampa because the Lightning just have so many other stars in front of him.
From what I saw in our playoff run last year, I knew that he was going to be something special, which is why I was bummed, but understood why we let him go in free agency.
There just wasn't enough room for him.
But he is proving my predictions correct.
Indeed. So Verhaeghe, a big one. He's been one of our top scorers. So that was good. Another one was the just humongous, especially in retrospect, trade of Mike Matheson for Patrick Hornquist from Pittsburgh. Because Mike Matheson was worse than a traffic cone. And I say worse than a traffic cone as a defenseman, because at the very least, a traffic cone is not going to willingly cough up the puck to the other team. At least the traffic cone can at least sit there and not do anything. Whereas Matheson would make such boneheaded plays that it was like, oh my, I would rather a traffic cone. Or at the very least, it's kind of there. It's sitting in front of you. You know, you kind of have to go around it. But yeah, no, Matheson would just let people go on by, or he'd cough up the puck and just make some boneheaded decisions. So they trades for Patrick Hornquist. Hornquist, who is an older player now and is about to hit his mid-30s, I believe, or is in his mid-30s. He contributed to the Penguins' recent back-to-back Stanley Cups. And the Penguins are retooling, kind of rechanged their makeup their team. And they're like, okay, well, Hornquist isn't fitting here anymore, so they swapped him for Matheson. Panthers won this trade for sure, because I don't think Matheson's even playing. He's probably on the taxi squad or whatever for the Penguins. And Hornquist has not only brought the offense, but he's brought an attitude, some swagger to the Florida Panthers. The Panthers team, they are different with that man on the ice. There is some swagger. He tells guys to shoot the effing puck instead of passing it all the time. Like, I think one of Barkov's recent goals in the last couple games, you could audibly hear Hornquist say, "Shoot the puck!" which is what all the fans say to Barkov. But finally, someone had the gall to go up to frickin' Barkov and be like, just shoot the puck. You're like the most talented guy on the ice. You should try and shoot more. And lo and behold, Barkov's numbers are going up. And Hornquist is the only guy over the last, I don't know how many years that the Panthers have had all of these forwards coming in, that is willing to go up to the front of the net and get down and dirty and try and get some of those grindy goals, those get in the muck right there in front of the net. And Andrew, you know what I'm talking about, right? I just went off into a stream of consciousness, but Freddie's here. And Freddie knows what I'm talking about.
We learned a little bit. I mean, it seems to me that the Panthers are just kind of playing to expectations of the talent they have.
For a lot of people, it's above expectations, to be honest. But yeah, the Panthers are playing above expectations for some people because they were expecting an okay team like normal, but they're playing better. And the guys that we drafted high in the past few years, and the big three, that Barkov, Huberdeau, and Ekblad, are playing like legit stars that can rival those of other teams. That's what's going down. That's what's happening. But yeah, the attitude adjustment, they get into secondary scoring from Frank Vetrano as well. He was a great pickup from Boston a few years ago. Dale Talon made some good picks and some good trades, but he made a lot of bad signings too. And Barry Zito was able to come in and supplement and get rid of really the worst dead weight of the team, which was Mike Matheson and his contract. So I'm happy being at the top of the heap for now. It's a tough division because remember, Johnny also was like, he thought the Carolina Hurricanes were the best team in the division, if not in the whole league. And the Hurricanes are also playing pretty damn well. They've got a higher points percentage than the Panthers. The Panthers just have one more point than them. And this is a 3-team race at the moment. Florida, Tampa Bay, and Carolina.
Although I will say that the past couple of games, the Lightning are giving me some pause. And bear in mind, I'm not able to catch every game, so, it could just be luck, quote-unquote, or bad luck, if you will, that I'm catching these games. But they seem to be a bit lethargic, to kind of describe it. They're giving up a lot of turnovers. They're not playing as sharp as I'm used to. So I'm hoping that that's just a little trend or something, a little like mini blip or something. I don't want that to be continuing, because that would be a death knell.
I don't think that's.
Playoffs.
I think it's more just. I mean, there's still. Remember, they played a lot of games over the last few years, and in such a short turnaround. So, the Stanley Cup and everything, and it's not like. I don't think they will fall so far where it's like, okay, they're literally hanging on by a thread in the 4th seed over like the Chicago Blackhawks or the Dallas Stars. That's not going to happen. It's just one of those, just the doldrums of the season. Also, remember, because of the work stoppages, well, not work stoppages, sorry, the virus stoppages, they've truncated the schedule. So they're playing a lot more back-to-backs, things like that. So guys are getting tired. And maybe John Cooper might want to utilize the taxi squad a lot more, give some guys some rest. That's also going to be playing into these final months of the season, because guys are going to get tired, and some teams are just going to have to swap some guys out that are waiting on the taxi squad and give them, at the very least, a game of rest, where normally they would normally have a game of rest, but they're playing back-to-backs because the schedule calls for it now. So there's that.
While we're on hockey, I do want to take a moment here to discuss a very sad moment that happened this week. A 19-year-old junior hockey player in Russia, Timur Faitsudinov, unfortunately passed away today. He was hit in the head with a puck.
Oh, yikes.
This is honestly the first time in a long time I can remember a player being killed on ice. What happened was, and I'm by no means a medical expert, so I'm just going by what I've seen. He was hit in the head around what's called the temporal bone, which is basically right near the cheekbone, above the cheekbone, like directly parallel to the eye. So that was fractured, and also he had a damaged carotid artery.
Oh,
and unfortunately, that led to a brain hemorrhage. And unfortunately, despite intubation and other life-saving measures, he was not able to survive. It's your temple.
Yeah.
So it brings up a point that I had kind of just been playing around with myself, which in the newer NHL hockey games, they give you the ability to wear
a full cage,
what they call a college cage, a full glass or a full face mask, which people derisively call a fishbowl, or a half cage, half visor. And I know recently, within like the last decade, the NHL now requires all players to wear at minimum a face shield. I think we're down to like a dozen or so players who are grandfathered in, so they don't have to wear one of whom is Zdeno Chara. I think
not like anybody can reach up there anyways.
I think Joe Thornton is another.
Another big guy who can not like anybody can reach up there anyways.
It's very, very rare to see one these days, but
his beard will stop it.
I think the NHL needs to go further. I think they need to put a full shield or a full cage on these players. And there's certainly precedent in every single level of hockey. Juniors, not Olympics, but junior hockey, pee-wee, squirt, all the way down to the kids, college, and then all the way to the pro level for women's hockey. Everyone is required to wear a full cage or a full. When I say cage, I'm lumping a full face shield in, but I'm just trying to go for efficiency and speed here. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Mike Coolbaugh incident back in 2006, which now he was the first base coach for the Tulsa Drillers, who was struck in his head and died from a foul ball, and now base coaches are required to wear
helmets.
which I think is too little because it's not even it covers basically nothing.
It's like when John Olerud was playing,
Right.
he would wear a helmet, but just like not a full helmet, but just a helmet.
Right. It's
Like a catcher's helmet, but facing forward.
Right. But look at just going around sports in general. You know,
Football.
Guys are starting to wear those extended ear flaps for baseball, which has proven to be extremely effective.
You know what will change it? The NHL needs to get way more marketable with its players. Because you know why? That means people are going to want to see the faces of these players.
Right. And here's
And
the
the
other
players, they want to look good. And if you want to look good, yeah, cover up the whole face.
Right. And here's the other thing.
But then, of course, other players will be like, oh, you want to be a pretty boy, whatever. Whatever, who cares?
Right. Here's the other
It's the money maker right here if you got the face.
But here's the other thing, though. The other thing is, first off, it wasn't that hard of a shot. It was a dump-in attempt from center ice, and it hit him in the right place. And I'm not saying, but it was unlucky. But there are so many people that were not lucky and somehow survived. Guys breaking cheekbones, and I'm not even getting started into. What was that player for Florida who got his neck sliced open?
Was it? No, not Rostov-Olash. It was Richard Zednik.
Thank you. I don't know if that would have 100%, if a
no, not because that would have to cover his neck.
Right.
No, that's
also,
not gonna.
You see things like I think Taylor Hall got cut.
Taylor Hall is the reason why we have the visor rule.
Right.
He's the reason for that.
It doesn't do shit. It really it covers the bare minimum, but your nose is exposed, your cheeks are exposed, your mouth is exposed. It's doing not nearly enough, considering. I mean,
I think eventually it's. I think you're trying to have a preemptive thing right now, which is before the worst happens, like what happened in. This was the junior team of Dynamo St. Petersburg's.
Right.
But before that reaches up to a higher level. But knowing the NHL, they'll only do something when something happens. So somebody's going to hit in the face. I mean, people get hit in the face with pucks all the time, but it'll be a superstar. Let's say Connor McDavid. Let's just put Connor McDavid because that's probably like the only person that, or Auston Matthews, someone in Toronto. Or Marner, maybe Marner. One of those two guys. Somebody, either Edmonton or Toronto, is going to get hit in the face, and he won't be able to play for some time because of his recovery from the jaw or whatever. And then from there on, like, we have to protect Auston Matthews' really weird mustache. So maybe that'll be the emphasis for doing so.
It's so stupid.
He's half Mexican, that's why his mustache kind of looks weird. But yeah.
I mean, look what happened. Here's another example.
In an NHL setting, at the very least.
Steven Stamkos.
Sombrero and a poncho, maybe he looks good. In Arizona, next to a cacti.
Let me talk.
Sorry, I'm just thinking of Auston Matthews. His mustache.
Our new non-sponsor, Auston Matthews mustache.
Sorry, Andrew. Go ahead.
Steven Stamkos broke his leg on a goalpost when he was sliding in. As a result, they made them a bit easier to dislodge. The NHL is too reactionary, and it's not good. It's bound to happen again.
Sounds eventually. Like the NHL I know and love.
And I hope that somehow the powers that be are able to hear our little podcast, or if I can tweet this out to the world and someone gets wind of it, do it now before someone gets seriously hurt or killed. Well, someone has already been seriously injured and killed. Don't let it happen again. This kid was 19. If he was American, he would have just been out of high school. playing for whoever. It's a tragedy that someone that young who had a promising career was cut short by something that was preventable. We have the technology to stop that from happening, but they either by peer pressure. I mean, people call them fishbowls, for God's sake. It's a term of derision.
Well, that's part of the. Let's see. So BU's got a comment here. The issue stems in part from the fact that a lot of players hate the full face shields. That is also, yeah. In my experience, the complaints are overblown, but the players' union is known to refuse to budge on the most minor shit, and that is also true. When Crosby wore the full face shield as well, and not only players but fans too, those fans see it as it's part of the machismo culture of the NHL sometimes too, where at first wearing the helmet was kind of like, oh, you're not manly enough, and then having the visor, oh, you're not manly enough, and I guess having the full clear fishbowl cage is, oh, you're not manly enough. Where it's like, I always thought of it like if it was me, like if I had become an NHL player, and a good one at that, one that could be marketable, I'd be doing all I can to protect my face.
Right.
Because especially nowadays in the days of social media and all that stuff, and it's all about the brand, you want to protect the brand. And that's part of the marketability, like in the NFL, or not the NFL. Well, actually some NFL too. In the NBA, like people see your face.
In the NBA, for sure.
Yeah.
Because the NFL, unless it's Brady getting the modeling gigs, Peyton Manning is not going to be on the cover of...
guys are wearing helmets, and people they don't really associate, or they don't really tie into the personalities and things like that. Well, the NHL kind of sort of has the same thing, where a lot of players aren't that marketable. Only a few of them actually have personalities that are noticeable, and there's some issues there, and it's on both sides. It's on both sides, actually 3 sides. It's on the fan culture, players culture, and the league culture, or the front office, the executives, the money makers, or the guys who sign the checks or make the rules. That's also part of it too. So BU's comments are correct. Players kind of see it as a sign of weakness sometimes too.
And that's what makes me frustrated.
It's like baseball and their unwritten rules too, and that. But it requires a change. I would say the players. There has to be a player that's willing to do it. If Connor McDavid was like, he's not the best looking guy in the world, so that's probably not the best example. But like,
doesn't matter what they look like. He is the future.
He should be the face of the league, and it should be a face that you should see, and it should be a face that probably should be protected at all costs, right?
And forget about physical appearance, disfigurement, whatever. If he takes a bad shot off the face, at minimum you're looking at decent injury list.
I see guys with the missing teeth, and I'm just like, I just can't. I cannot justify living like that and having missing teeth.
So I would say missing teeth makes you think of hockey.
Yeah,
Is that
but
not the distinguishment of the sport itself.
Yes, it is, but it's also like.
Yeah, it's unsafe, but they enjoy that warrior culture is what I'll call it.
Well, that's part of the issue too.
I'll call it Neanderthalish.
Yeah.
Well, then also, I'll take another an analogy here. Look at catchers in baseball. When they were first introducing shin guards, chest protectors, all that jazz, they were called the tools of ignorance, and people who were wearing those were looked severely down upon. Now it's a part of the catcher's identity, and I agree with you here, Francisco. It's stupid that they took away the ability for them to paint the helmets.
Well, that's an aside, yes, but
that's an aside.
That's a Rob Manfred. Come on, dude, come on.
Or
that was a Bud Selig era rule too, but still,
let's go back to hockey here. So Jacques Plante, was the first goaltender to consistently wear a face mask in 1956, I think.
Yep.
Back then it was plain old white.
He broke his nose initially, and then he wore the mask. I think somebody helped him make it, whatever, and then he wore it until his nose got better, but then he went into a game without it again, and I don't know if he almost got hit, whatever, and he was like, nope, not going back.
He basically told the coach, he basically said, if you don't let me go in with this, I'm not playing it.
Mm-hmm. And
so he was that guy.
And the
movement started.
The big thing was he was also the best goalie on the planet. So you couldn't say no to him. Like if the end, let's say if this was the once again, if Sidney Crosby had done this, if Sidney Crosby last time he got hurt, he wore the full cage. If he had kept it, you know what, I'm just gonna keep it. Maybe, just maybe, because he's big enough, especially now he's got all the Stanley Cup rings, that who's gonna question it? Especially if it doesn't affect his play. Maybe he makes it better. Maybe he's like, hey, I'll go into the corners a lot more with this on. I'm not going to get hurt. I'm not going to get sticked in the face or whatever, too. So you might be willing to get a little more, I guess, have a slightly more courage going into some situations, thanks to having the whole face protected.
Right.
You know, it's not going to protect you from getting boarded or whatever, but still. Anyways, yeah, I think I'm with you on this, Andrew. You've convinced me. You've convinced me now that you've brought this up.
And one last thing, you know how we've mentioned that pitchers should start wearing masks?
I feel like they should wear lacrosse helmets. I feel like it's like the perfect thing.
Lacrosse helmets, whatever you want to call it. They do it in pro softball. They do it in softball.
Yeah, and they're closer. They're closer to the home plate.
The exit speed is significantly faster.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I'm amazed that a pitcher has not been killed.
Well, there've been scary moments. There's always one per season.
I take that back. There was a youth player who was killed on a comebacker.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why they went away from the Bezer aluminum bat model and went to the BB core.
Yeah.
Less powerful.
So, all right. Okay. That seems like a good idea, Andrew. Right. Go. You know what? Let's send a strongly worded email to the NHL. See if we can get a one-to-one conversation with Gary Bettman and see if we can convince him.
First thing you gotta do is just put a NHL thing in the background for the YouTube, and I'll get his attention when he strikes us. We basically just took a big pee on his yard.
Yeah, NHL's. We're fans of you guys. Come on now. All right. Okay. Well, let's see. We're 40 minutes in, and I want to get, because it is Women's History Month, guys. So we still must honor our queens out there. So I'd like to do a You Go Girl. And I'm doing this one in celebration of the announcement last week that ESPN will be regaining rights to broadcast the NHL. All right? So my You Go Girl for this entry this week is Linda Cohn.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Linda Cohn. Why? Because she's a massive hockey fan. There are a lot of big hockey fans, especially the old guard from ESPN, the ones that are there. Stephen A. Smith's not a hockey fan. All right, we all know that. We all know he doesn't know anything. Max Kellerman's a fucking moron. He's a fucking asshole. All right, so because he said, I think last year, like, nobody cared about the NHL in the United States, and I was like, oh, this guy who actually reports about boxing talking about a sport nobody cares about. Oh boy. because nobody gives a shit about boxing in the USA. I'll tell you that much. Okay, anyways, except for Punch-Out, all right? Except for Punch-Out. It's the only thing that people like about boxing. Anyways, dying sport. You guys lost to MMA. Come on now. All right. Well then, Linda Cohn. So, she is, of course, a sports broadcaster, worked at ESPN, but she started out in local television, worked her way up, worked for Sports Channel America, WALKAM, and I can't even pronounce this, Patchogue, New York, WFAN, huh?
Wait, spell it for me.
Patch, like a patch, and then Ogue, O-G-U-E, Patchogue, Paninis, I'm not sure, pierogies.
You tried, and that's what matters most, bud.
Yeah, well, I was trying to like give it like the Latin inflection with it. I know you like.
That's what I do to save myself in some situations.
Oh boy, Charles likes boxing. I just saw that. Oh, I hurt your feelings, Charles. I'm sorry.
No, you're not wrong.
I'm excited. I'm just saying, Max. The man's throwing stones in a glass house, and you know, so.
No one knows. Listen, here's the thing. Everybody rolled their eyes when Kellerman got put on the first take. When you make people miss Skip of all people, you know there's problems.
Shout out to Emily Kaplan for being an ESPN Young Guard hockey person. Yes, indeed.
Go Emily Kaplan.
There we go. Yeah, but Linda Cohn, and Andrew's off trying to find the pronunciation for this city, and KIRO TV in Seattle. She went to SUNY Oswego. She's, of course, an anchor since she's been working in TV since 1987. And some trivia. She was the first full-time female sportscaster for a U.S. national radio network when she started with ABC. And she had her 5,000th edition of SportsCenter back in 2016. And she's hosted the most in all of ESPN history. So we're on Sports Goofs 97. We got a long way to go, guys. Can you imagine like 40 years from now, it's like, welcome everybody to Sports Goofs 5000. Oh boy.
You did it, Mom.
All right, we finally have 1 million views. It took a while, but whereas, you know, ESPN's on like 40 billion or whatever. So anyways, podcast she has right now, so we're semi-competing with her, but we're not. It's called Listen Closely with Linda Cohn. And I guess this.
Listen, Linda.
Yeah, I think this was a precursor to the deal, but she will also be primarily focusing on hockey going into the future with ESPN. So maybe she was in the room when they were doing these negotiations to get hockey back on ESPN. Now, so that's Linda Cohn, everybody, and of course she. When the Florida Panthers are doing their goalie tryouts, their emergency backup goalie tryouts, and we had a whole bunch of people here coming down to try out. She was one of them. She was one of the people that came down to try and win the job of emergency backup goaltender for the Florida Panthers, which would have been pretty sweet if she was in the building every other night, just waiting with her gear ready to go.
We love you, Linda. Please come on the show.
Yes, please. Please. All right. So she makes $3 million a year. Wow. Oh, good, man. Yeah, for real. And she's been working at ESPN for like, what, almost 3 decades? That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. She's probably got some really good goaltending gear because she still plays, I think, Rec League or somewhere. So, yeah, Linda Cohn, everybody.
I'm surprised that cheap ESPN would keep her on because God knows they got rid of everybody in the first wave of the budget cuts in John Clayton.
Ooh, yeah.
She survived.
Well,
I like Linda Cohn and I like John Clayton. I'm not picking favorites. I'm just shocked because their whole thing was, oh, you guys can't cover it because we don't have anything. So wouldn't the most logical thing be to eliminate the heaviest price? Even though I know she's probably one of the more recognizable ones.
I think that's ESPN cannot afford to lose all of the old guard because I mean Stuart Scott passed away. I'm talking about the old guard. Stephen A. Smith's not an old guard. Yeah. He was. No, I'm talking about the people that were anchors. You know, I think Bob Lee he's still there. I think, but I don't know what he does.
Retired.
Oh, he retired. Oh, so he's gone. Stuart Scott unfortunately passed away. Kenny Mayne, is he still there? I don't even. I'm not even sure.
Let's see.
Let's see who else. Scott Van Pelt has his own late night show.
Oh,
Yeah,
Kenny
he is
is
the
still with
Cohn.
ESPN somehow.
Okay. Dan Patrick left to do his own thing. So yeah, Maine is still on sometimes. So I guess whenever he feels like doing it, which at this point he might as well work that way, right? That's the dream. That is the dream. Hey, I feel like doing Sports Center tonight. Just kind of feeling the itch, feeling nostalgic. Yeah. So Linda Cohn and who else? Who else? I mean, was it John Saunders passed away too? So he's gone. Oh gosh. Well, I got bummed out now. I'm also feeling old thinking about all those old names. I'm like, oh no, oh gosh. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about the reason ESPN doesn't feel or seem as good as it once was, and it's not because of the political lean that they sometimes go on, but it's also just the way that they're trying to get ratings. So, people will love those talking heads. The normies love those talking heads. Yes, they do. That's kind of semi what we do here, but we're not screaming into the mic like this all the time. Unless it's Charles doing his cage.
Yeah. We also just aren't oversaturated the way some of the people are.
And we
We
also
would love to be.
we also don't just lean hard on promoting our own narratives just for the sake of promoting it, and basically almost being TMZ at some points, and only promoting NFL stuff and NBA stuff because it's where you can kind of generate drama. It's almost like ESPN is like a YouTube drama channel but for sports. Sometimes it feels that way. Like Keemstar is going to host the show someday. I bet you that could happen. Oh, that makes my skin crawl a little bit. Oh boy. You know what, guys? Let's get some culture into our lives. And Andrew, did you find a pronunciation of that city, by the way?
I gave up.
Gosh darn it. We'll have to call him Mayor of Pachogo. I don't even...
No, hold on, guys. I have well, when we just start discussing football, I have a picture.
Okay, so but let me do a uncultured swine. I haven't done one of these in a while. Guys, we're heading down under for this one.
Ooh.
All right, we're going to cover the Illawara Hawks. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Andrew, maybe you want to find out what the name of this city is too, or how to pronounce it.
The Latin spin out of all opportunities that you had.
Illawara?
Illawara, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, Freddie's found the Wikipedia that says Patchhog, like Sonic the
Patchhog,
Patchhog,
yeah.
Hedgehog, maybe. Yeah, kind of. Okay. That's pretty cool. Okay.
Phonetically speaking, I see it.
Yeah, I mean it's a Native American. It sounds Native American, that's for sure. But yeah, okay. So yeah, Illawara Hawks, established in 1979. They played in the National Basketball League, which is Australia's premier basketball league. They have one championship back in 2001. Their only notable players that I could see that played in the NBA, Aaron Brooks. That's a callback. Player remember forget.
Yeah.
And LaMelo Ball.
Wow.
That's where he headed off to instead of going to college. And they've got quite a history, of course. They almost folded back in 2009, but their team captain, Matt Campbell, was able to drum up enough support from the whole community, almost like a Nickelodeon or a Disney Channel movie. He's like, "Come on, we got to save the basketball team," and he got sponsors and naming rights and all that stuff, and they were able to sell the team off to a guy that was willing to pay for everything. A guy from India, a mining magnate, because there's a lot of mining in Australia, and so they were able to save the team, and they created a not-for-profit community-based company, and they formed the Wollongong Hawks Basketball Limited to make sure that the Hawks can can keep surviving. So LaMelo Ball versus RJ Hampton. That was a game that happened last year, and it broke the NBL viewership record for largest viewership with 2 million people watching back in October of 2019, because everybody's watching future NBA stars or draft picks at the very least. And they've had different name changes. Illawara Hawks, the Wollongong Hawks. And at one point, I guess because they were as tired as me at pronouncing these names, they were just called the Hawks. And the NBL was pissed off. They're like, you guys got to have a name. So they're like, okay, we're going to go back to Illawara then. So there you go. They play at the Wynn Entertainment Centre back in Wollongong, New South Wales in Australia. And that's all I got for you. So there you go. So
I mean, for some reason, I don't know if it's insensitive enough to say, but I just think of Crocodile Dundee. You think it's a ball? No, this is a ball. For anybody who's seen Crocodile Dundee. Now I feel old just outdating ourselves here. YouTubey kids, he's comparing a knife to another knife.
Yeah.
I laughed in my head.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing that is not going to get a nickname from any professional sports team in Australia, it's definitely not going to be the Rays. Ooh.
Ouch.
Is it still too soon?
Yeah.
Is it? When did he die? Oh
A
gosh.
long time ago. 2000 and...
Hold on. Steve Irwin.
No, it was like 06.
2006. We're in.
06, okay.
I mean, at some point it becomes funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they call them the Murder Rays, though. I gotta say, for a rugby team, that'd be appropriate.
They're
But,
Devil
you know,
Rays. Devil Rays.
There you go.
Yeah. So Okay.
I think it's because he was so beloved.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. Comedy.
If you love him so much, name your team after him. We obviously don't love him enough, right? Let us have this moment.
The Fighting Irwins.
Yeah, or the Crocodile Hunters. Yeah.
Ooh.
Just call them the Crocodile Hunters. That's probably like trademarked by his family or something.
Or maybe just the Hunters.
Yeah.
That would work
Oh,
out.
so many animal rights groups will probably be against them for that, though. So I can already see that now. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Uncultured Swine, everybody. Okay. Well, we have 6 minutes until the halfway point. I can do one more small segment if you guys want me to bridge us over there.
Let's do it.
Because I've been saving up over the last few weeks. So I've got another one. So let's do a Let's Haul, y'all. This guy's not dead, by the way. So
Good.
So let's get away from a guy that is dead and is probably in some Hall of Fame, and Steve Irwin, and go to another one. So let's do a Let's Haul, y'all. And this one's Jason Kidd.
Ooh.
Well done.
Yeah. Jason Kidd. So he is alive. Class of 2018. Point guard. Went to Cal. Drafted in 1994 in the first round, second overall. Played for the Dallas Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns, the New Jersey Nets, and the New York Knicks. Won the 1995 Rookie of the Year award, 10-time All-Star, 5-time assist champions. There you go. So I guess a ton of assists. 9-time All-Defensive Team. 1995 All-Rookie Team, 6-time All-NBA, won 2 gold medals in 2000 and 2008, won the 2011 championship, boo. Second all-time in assists in the NBA, was a head coach for both the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks, and is an assistant coach right now with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he picked up another ring last season, boo. Jason Kidd. Yeah. And of course he had that, was it love triangle or love quadrangle? Way back when. You guys know that story?
Time for the scandalous moment to come out.
With Jason Kidd and his teammates, and some of his goings on with a certain singer.
Oh yeah.
No?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Well, that happened. There's a wonderful video about it on SB Nation, or now it's called Secret Base on YouTube. So if you want to find out that love quadrangle between him and his teammates that may or may not have led to the breakup of those young Dallas Mavericks teams. Love, okay, that's the love, BU, look at this. The love shape, Freddie by Freddie. And you see the love dodecahedron.
I like how we're just like dancing on eggshells on it. It's fantastic.
Oh boy. Well, it's there.
I just think of semi-pro and everybody's like, everybody love everybody.
Love hexagon. Oh boy, it's 2021. You can love every way, shape, or form if you feel like it. We don't kink shame here on Sports Goofs, that's for sure. Definitely not. Nope. We got Charles over here giving coal jobs. I'm over there spawning at a library. And really, Andrew's the only one that has any moral compass on this show.
I double as the moral compass and guest wrangler of this show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's probably like. Well, no. Andrew was dealing drugs in his world tour.
Yeah,
That's canon. That's canon, by the way, Andrew.
Andrew's third favorite thing to do is ski in the white powder. That's what we have the storyline built on when you were gone, getting pulled over by the cops. I hope you listen to that episode.
So that's canon, by the way. And Andrew does wrangle guests, and may or may not be willingly, by the way. So there you go. Sorry, Andrew. Why did we make you seem like you're a ardent criminal? I don't get it.
I'll be honest.
Made into it.
As I was talking to, I was mentioning this to Charles a while back. If I was in wrestling, I would love to be a heel. Because I like to think that I'm a nice guy in real life. So being able to play off my baser urges would be fantastic. It would be so much fun.
That'd be a nice thought experiment. What would be our wrestling personas?
Like, for instance, when I was in high school, I was in a play where I played a villain, which I was initially very bummed about because I was like, oh, but I wanted to be the good guy. But then I came to love and embrace the role. It was so much fun.
There you go. Look at that. It's dormant. It's lying dormant inside of him. That's for sure. Freddie, what if you were a Pokemon? Ooh, and there's a lot to choose from.
Straight up. And without hesitation, all I want to do is sleep.
Oh man. Oh, that's.
I want to sleep.
There's
like
so many to choose from. What would my personality be in comparison? I haven't even thought of that thought experiment. I mean, I have favorite Pokemon, but I can't think of one that would be my personality or whatever. Well, we're at the halfway point, guys. We'll have our thought experiments about our wrestling personas, or maybe even fursonas. Who knows? Maybe it could be the furry of wrestling world. Wait, Charles? Before I get there, now that I've thought about it, has anybody donned a furry-esque?
All right, kids. Going down.
Look like King from Tekken?
Well, hold on, time out. Freddie just gave us his non-sponsor. Let's delve into this one a little.
Pokemon Go. Okay, well, Charles, you hang on that thought, and we'll talk about wrestling furries later on, after the second half. But let's get into.
Follow us on our OnlyFans for Charles's use of personas any day of the week with wrestling.
So let's go. Let's do a word from our non-sponsors, people, places, things, concepts, what have you, that we have been enjoying over the last week. And Freddie's got one. It's Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go. Yes, guys.
That is a throwback.
Well, I still have it on my phone.
Only Goofs.
And oh gosh, they added the ability to transfer one, or I think you can transfer a few of them from this game into Sword and Shield, and I only utilized it once to transfer my Suicune over. I'm surprised I didn't really go nuts with that feature. Oh, I kind of burnt out on Pokemon, that's for sure.
Sword and Shield, man, and then you have Go.
Yeah, well, and RCS is the one that I'm really looking forward to. I'm not getting Diamond and Pearl. I'm not getting that. Uh,
You see, I could because I missed out on those.
I didn't play those either. I played that generation. I played Heart Gold, which, by the way, on eBay is worth a lot of money, and I'm glad I kept my copy. But yeah, Pokemon Go. That was.
Guys, I was trying to pass the bar exam as I ran around campus trying to get a Pikachu. Because it came out the season, or not season, but it came out.
Yeah,
when
2016.
bar exam.
Yeah.
So y'all don't understand. So I remember side fun story because Freddie opened this door. The day it came out, everybody and their mother was just going through FIU Law Library because for those who don't know, the Law Library, we would have the undergrads there as well. And I remember it was like a Saturday night and I knew it came out, but then there's just like a whole surge of people. And I would stay there until closing. You know, whether it's a law library, but they closed early on Saturdays, it made no sense. Fix that FIU for future kids. But then I would just seal like the classrooms where you always have to prop the door because you don't have your stuff locked out. Had that happen too. That's always fun. But you would just see all these people locking out. It was so weird because I had barged myself against human interaction. I'm seeing all these people coming in, and then there's my dumbass on like a random Tuesday needing my 15 minutes of bar break air, and I just look and I see a little Pikachu on my phone. I'm like, oh my god. And I go and I try to get this on vision. Good times.
Okay. Yeah, I remember I was doing an externship with the city of Miami when that happened. And when I was just sitting there and doing nothing, I would look for Pokemon. In fact, I remember like a group meeting between all the externs, whatever, and we were there, and I'm on my phone taking augmented reality photos of the people around me with Pokemon next to them. So you could see where my head was at, and my lunch breaks were incredibly fun because I was in downtown Miami. There was plenty of Pokemon, plenty of little the Pokestops that I could collect stuff at. So when the app wasn't crashing on you, because it crashed like crazy when it was starting out, but yeah, that was fun. That was super duper fun, and I still have it on my phone, but I haven't played it in forever. That's for sure. But yeah, he has a Raichu with perfect IV, dear lord, and a shiny Ampharos. So Pokemon Go, everybody. There you go. That's Freddy's non-sponsor. Okay. Don't know if he has a promo code. He can put it up later. Yeah. Okay, guys. Who's next? Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
All right, go ahead, Andrew.
My non-sponsor is the Doubletree Suites on Melbourne Beach.
I called it, Charles, from last week. We were like, hey, I bet Andrew's probably going to like have a non-sponsor for like the hotel he was staying at or something. So there you go.
You know me too well.
Doubletree Hotel. Where was it? What city?
Look at his promo code.
There you go. That's perfect. What city, Andrew? In particular? Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne. Or is it Burn? Is it Burn where you don't pronounce the O?
Correct.
Really? That's how they pronounce it?
It's Melbourne.
Oh, man. Well, great city, by the way.
Melbourne's great. That whole stretch.
Yeah. Oh, you've been to that stretch?
In the Atlantic, Satellite Beach,
Yeah.
Melbourne Beach, that whole stretch, Indian Harbor Beach. I've spent a lot of good times there. I had a friend that lived out there for a while. So, anyway, this place was, I guess, technically in Melbourne, but it was right on the water. Fantastic. I really enjoyed staying there. This was kind of my part one of my bar decompression trip. I took the bar a couple of weeks ago, so I decided to spend a couple of days up near the beach. Went up to visit UCF, see a friend or two. And it was suggested to me that I was going to stay in Orlando initially, but someone suggested that you should stay on the water. And I was kind of deciding, do I want to go West Coast, the Gulf Coast, or I want to go East Coast, the Atlantic? Eventually decided Atlantic, go to Melbourne. Well, first off, the ocean is amazing. I haven't spent a lot of time on the beach in quite a while, certainly not this much on a consistent basis. And the beach is really nice. I initially wanted to go further north to like Ormond Beach, but they allow driving on the beach there, and that was a hell no for me. I wanted as little disruption as possible. I have plenty of pictures, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. They had a sliding glass door in my room that you could just. I went to sleep listening to the ocean, and it was phenomenal. Much needed R&R. It was lovely, and I totally forgot. The DoubleTree has probably the best cookies I've ever had.
Nice.
What kind?
Let me. Well, they are literally known as the DoubleTree cookies. They have, previously a secret recipe, but back at the beginning of quarantine in the virus, they released the recipe for all to have, which really nice. That was really nice of them to do.
Might have to look into that for myself then.
It is a chocolate chip cookie with walnuts.
Interesting.
And is abso-freaking-lutely delicious. According to their website, more than 30 million are consumed every year, and the DoubleTree chocolate chip cookie even became the first food to be baked in orbit during experiments aboard the International Space Station.
Well, there you go. There you go.
And it is super easy. You just need butter, sugar, eggs, vanilla extract, lemon juice, flour, oats, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, semi-sweet chocolate chips, and walnuts.
Okay.
And what's great about the hotel is if you're part of their membership club, which is free to join, by the way. And let me say this: the DoubleTree is part of the Hilton chain. They used to be their own thing, but then Hilton, like everything in life, bought, like everything these days, bought out the chain. But luckily, they didn't get rid of the cookies. Thank you, Hilton. But so if you're part of their membership club, which again, free to join, they give you a nice welcome package of 2 bottles of water and a wonderful cookie. And then they have a whole stash of them ready to go at the front desk. So you can just come down whenever you want and say, hey, can you give me a few cookies? And like, sure. So they just hand them over, and they're... You guys keep saying that I'm into drugs and illicit things or whatever. These things are drugs, man. They are addictive.
Mm-hmm.
They were.
Okay.
I was very lazy and didn't want to get up too early in the morning to go get breakfast or whatever from like McDonald's or whatever, because I wasn't going to eat in-house because of the virus. So as I'm headed out the door, I'm like, hey, do you have any more of those cookies? And like, yeah, how many do you want? I said, 2. He said, sure, here you go. So that was my breakfast on the way to UCF on day 2. And then as I'm heading out to go back home, I'm like, can I have 3 for the road? Sure. So I'm like, this is amazing. I am going to stay here much more often. But thanks to the DoubleTree, they released their recipe, so I'm definitely going to be making these a lot more. So yeah, DoubleTree Melbourne was fantastic. I'd highly recommend it. Certainly get the certainly get something on the water. Although actually I think all of their places are you can see from the water. Absolutely gorgeous. The beach was amazing. That whole strip of land is amazing. Highly recommended if you're ever in Florida. Even if you don't stay in a hotel, just check out the beach. It is lovely. Promo code crack cookies.
Oh yeah.
Which reminds me of FIU's crack cookies.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I said it.
Okay.
I will say this, Charles. These cookies are better than the crack cookies at
Oh
FIU.
boy.
Well, I'm gonna say it right now for the record, the FIU crack cookies, because I know with the person I used to date back then were trash. Sorry, they're not as good as everybody hyped it up to be. But next time I go to the DoubleTree, because I've been there before in the past.
Okay, I legit just friended Freddy on Pokemon Go, and I caught a Totodile. So
Look at that.
all right. Okay. Well, let me do me. Let me do me. All right. So, gentlemen. So, our beloved show. I do a lot to get this thing up and running and produce it and try and make sure it doesn't all fall apart in front of us. We get those beautiful 10 cents per show, you know? But I need a lot of help with regards to programs and things that I use. There's always something that I'm looking for to make the whole process easier for me in order to get it out the door and make us sound semi-professional, you know, and make sure all of the things are out of the way. So, gosh, man, this one is something that I've been using. So it's free. It's called Audacity. All right.
Audacity.
Audacity. There you go.
Audacity.
Yes. So Audacity is a non-sponsor for this week. I think it was perfect for us because actually last episode we were pretty darn good with no technical difficulties whatsoever. So that actually worked out for us. Well, yeah, I edit the show. I make sure to just lighten some things up. Make sure, like last episode, for example, Andrew came in briefly to talk about what he needed to talk, but his microphone was very low. So thankfully, if you listen to the podcast version of that, Andrew's microphone sounds on par with me and Charles. So you can hear what he was saying a lot more clear, and it's thanks to Audacity. It's open source, it's free. You can get it on Linux or your Mac or your Windows PC, and it's free software that helps you. Just multi-track editor, can record with it, and I'm still learning how to use it. I haven't worked out everything with it. I need to watch some more tutorials on YouTube, but on the basic side, I kind of got it down pat with regards to just trimming things out and using the effects that they got there. They've got different effects that you can amplify certain things, you can take out certain noises, and heighten some other things. It works out well. So I'm still experimenting, and you can kind of gauge the quality of my experiments based on the episodes that we've had this season, because I've been using it all of this season, and this season is almost over. Come April, the first week of April will be our last show, because that's episode 100, and that gives me 4 weeks of time for us to take a break and for me to kind of experiment with other things, and we come back with season 6 slightly more improved, which basically has been our mantra for the last 3 years. By the way, everybody, 3 years anniversary coming up this week. Actually, yeah, this week's our anniversary week. So 3 years of Sports Goofs. Can't believe it. Gosh, didn't think this would last this long, to be honest. But especially last year, guys. Last year when we just kind of survived the whole virus thing and just kept on trucking. When a lot of people quit. A lot of people started podcasting, quit their podcasts immediately. But we kept on trucking, and here we are.
So we're the Glenn Quagmires of podcasting. Just don't take any kind of form of resistance as a way to lay down.
Oh boy. Oh God. No. Yeah, that's not the. Let's just steer with it. Audacity, you guys are great. Promo code, not sexual predators.
Giggity.
All right.
On that note, you see, sometimes the best thing is just to kind of bait and switch each of you, including myself at times when we're doing things just to make it funnier. So I'll go. Mine's a continuation because, as we know, we have been following the journey of Charles's Hobbit feet, especially if we don't know if he has Hobbit feet. So we talked about Fleet feet last week and how they were able to kind of correct my ignorant ass about what my feet actually are, size wise, width wise, arch wise, everything. So we needed to find a companion. And boys, Chris out there at Fleet Feet, he was my Prince Charming and my Cinderella, as we tried on many shoes, many running shoes. And your boy needs the right kind of running shoes because my workouts are weightlifting at the home, and then I go running afterwards. And how do I run? I run 3 to 5 miles, depending on the day, right? So I gotta get the right kind of sequence. This Saturday, I ran 5 point something. Yesterday, I ran 226 because it was leg day and I'm not going to strain my knees. Tomorrow, it's probably going to be a 3 to 4. We're going to get that cardio back because when I had the teeth kind of taken care of, today is actually my first episode with my proper crown in there. So I'm not slurring as much. That's fantastic too. It's really like a whole compilation of things. But we had to play Cinderella to figure out, and we found the right ones that don't hurt the feet too much. And they can hold into Charles's, damnation of his souls. I feel like there's a double-edged sword. Maybe it's because I'm playing Diablo right there, and puns and double entendres and all that other fun stuff. I am going to give my non-sponsor out to Brooks Ghost 13. That's the brand that I have. Pretty sturdy, works very well. I was able to take my Asics over my normal running shoes, workout shoes. I just kind of promoted them to my everyday walking shoes or just my standard sneakers. They're black and white. They don't really have any wear and tear that's on them because I got those back in August. We're retiring the old Nikes. I've had those for like 7 years. It's time, right? But these, I have like the gray one. I think it's the one that says 130. Can I just ask, why is it that running shoes always kind of have to look kind of fugly? Can't we just be simple with it? So I got to go with gray, but it's good on my feet, good on the cushion. I don't really feel a lot of impact on the bottom of my feet, especially when you get to like mile 3 or 4. Your feet start to get a little wobbly or wonky, and then you might lose. That's a color I might consider. Might get some in there. I don't have any bunions. I don't have any. Reminds me of Nightwing, who's like my favorite DC character. For you guys, if you want to know a little bit about my nerdiness. Also, we are continuing season 4 of My Hero Academia. Damn, it's good. But this has basically been able to carry me and my that's the ones I have, I believe, and my ridiculous ass to every mile that I take into the heat. And I
Wait,
like
did you have a choice
on
on the color, or did they just give
not
you
a
that
lot
one?
because I'm in store, so I had
Oh,
that. I had like a weird they had a black one, but it had a blue finish at the bottom. Like if
this
you
one,
like the
this one right here that we're showing right
I'm
here.
I'm a step behind you.
Yeah.
Not that one, but kind of. So imagine it's black, but it's not that kind of light blue. Imagine it being kind of like I don't want to say it was neon blue, but it was kind of like
With the neon green, kind of like the Seattle Seahawks in a way. I don't know.
it was like a dark blue contrast, and it didn't vibe with me, as the kids say, because I'm just too old school. I feel that's why sometimes I wish I had that all black when I was an option, but I do like that blue, like blue and black or purple. I saw that one. I thought FIU colors. It did not feel as comfortable. The one that had the gold on the on the check mark.
I'll be getting this one. The red and white one kind of looks like Sonic shoes. That's for sure.
I actually do like that red and white one. They didn't have that as an option. I used to have red sneakers when I used to work out at the gym a couple of years back. The style matters, and mind you, I'm not going to put style over comfort because if that was the case, I wouldn't go through this whole effort of trying to get the right shoes. I just wear whatever. But these have kind of done well because prior to the A6, which I knew it was a little wobbly, so maybe they were the proper running shoes, I was doing New Balances and they weren't just hanging. And then what I had prior to that, I don't even recall, but it worked out pretty well. I have not had any significant impact because I was feeling pain in the bottom of my foot, guys. I thought I busted a plantar, and it wouldn't be beyond my my over exertion of things to have. I've hurt my body before in the past, exercising too much or just overdoing when I shouldn't. But very happy with them. Might consider second pair. They're not the cheapest, but what I've kind of realized is that sometimes you just can't find the best thing on sale. You just get the thing that's going to fit. I think I popped about 130 on mine, but it worked out pretty well, and I'm happy with it. And maybe I should, because now I know the sizes, I'll just go on the website. I just don't like to buy things online and then try them out and then have to go through the hassle of returning it. So that's why I go stuff that's in house. But Brooks, the Ghost 13, I wonder what 12 and 1 were like, but I like it a lot. It worked out pretty well. It's going to kind of take me where I'm going. Maybe I can kind of, go from there and be my own Forrest Gump and in the process grow a better beard. But I like it. It's what I'm going to go with for a bit. I'll try out some of the other models, and at least it gives me some clear way to go for it. So Brooks Ghost 13 or the Brooks brand. I haven't tried their other shoes, to be honest with you, but we'll go from here. Promo code. Gotta go fast.
Okay. All right. Well then, thank you to our actual sponsor for this episode, Podcorn. We've been using Podcorn for a few months now, and what we enjoy most is the large amount of potential sponsors they offer and the easy user interface that allows us to pitch our proposals and collaborate to meet the sponsor's expectations. Podcorn is a marketplace connecting its podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities such as host read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. With Podcorn, there is no middleman. Podcasters of all sizes can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform, set their own rates, and collaborate with brands directly without any exclusivities. You never give up on any rights to your podcast, and Podcorn is here to support you at every step and ensure you're protected and compensated for the work that you do for brands. The marketplace mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when we monetize. Click the link in our show notes to sign up to Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities. All right, guys, let's move on. Second half of the show. I guess there's football stuff you guys want to go to? There's some off-season things happening.
There's a lot of free agency
There's
stuff.
a ton in NFL. What's the thing called? Free agency.
Yeah. Okay.
We can discuss that.
I mean, we can. We sure can, because I know the Dolphins are striking out. That's from what I've heard from everybody else.
I can give you some information there if you'd like to kind of go from it as someone who is kind of coming out of...
Loving the memes, for sure.
The memes have been great. And someone's coming in as a resident fantasy football junkie on his exit. Maybe Andrew returns to it next year. Free agency matters, boys. Free agency doesn't necessarily matter if your team's going to get better. It's about, are we going to get cheaper? But Andrew mentioned something that I kind of want to focus on here because we're kind of lawyers. We got some legal brains going on, right? What is the point of a salary cap if everybody could just restructure stuff to create votable years in a contract to just kind of soothe the cap hit and then not take in consideration dead money and all this stuff? Because the teams that were supposed to be bad because they were in cap hell, if they're not named the New Orleans Saints, have been able to succeed. Case in point, Kansas City Chiefs. They had to let go of Mitchell Schwartz. They had to let go of Ryder. They had to let go of a couple of their other guys, only to get Joe Thuney on a 5-year, $84 million contract, which I think $30 million guaranteed. And what do they do to obtain it? And what a lot of other players have, or not players, but players, but also teams have done. They've restructured a lot of contracts to just get rid of the roster bonuses and just make them signing bonuses. The Chiefs, what they did was they restructured Mahomes, who, mind you, was on a 10-year near $500 million contract, Chris Jones and Travis Kelce's contracts to make them more cap space to come in. We just outright released people in Tennessee. We said bye-bye to Dory Jackson, which was fine. We were going to pick him up anyway. We let Corey Davis go. He went to the Jets. Good luck. We don't care. We got Bud Dupree. The boy is very happy on that one because even though our defense is trash, we're going to overpay this man to make us better.
Wait.
We're going to make him
Charles,
Oscar
what is their
Rush.
defense?
Yes. Which one?
What is their defense?
Tennessee Titans.
Trash.
Oh, trash. Okay. Sorry, I was on a different focus, man. Yeah, because trash. No. Our defense was not trash in the way of it's respect and I'm downplaying you. Our defense was trash last year. We only had about 19 sacks on the season. We had paid Vic Beasley $10 million to just not even show up. And then we paid Jadeveon Clowney a little bit above that to not do anything and then get hurt. So we paid Bud Dupree 5 years, 80-something million, averaging 16.7 million. Mind you, this was a guy who only didn't become a sack master until he got Steven Tuitt and TJ Watt. Big concern because Harold Landry, Rashawn Evans, and possibly Jayon Brown come back. I don't see it's possible, but I keep my heart out a little bit. Hopefully, those are not those kind of guys. We did get and God, I'm gonna butcher the name. Because I'm not even good with my own last name, but we picked up from the Colts. I'm gonna try to say it's a. Can we do this? Danico Autry. And Autry was hard for me because I was thinking Autry, but I can't say it. But we got him. He's a defensive tackle. He's there to get his big contract. So we found ways to kind of plug and play certain people. But free agency is kind of weird, boys, because why? Everybody's going to be cash strapped. They said that the salary cap is going to be at 182. And teams have outbidded the other teams because they know there's going to be some people in hell. I don't even know how the Saints are a functioning team because even when Drew Brees retired, oh, by the way, Drew Brees retired. So
yeah.
He's, of course, having the Steelers trying to fill.
He's off to NBC.
Again, he's off to NBC. But I find it funny that the man that was replaced by Rivers, they both retired in the same year. It's funny to me. I like little things like that. They're calling career in the sunset. They're always one-upping each other. I did it better than you, even though you did it immediate. And then there's Tom Brady who just laughs in infinite young age. But we got Janoris Jenkins. This is good stuff for Charles. There we go. Replaces my question of who's going to play our corners. But Bill Belichick, boys, his whole thing of draft, develop, and also trade for unheralded people. We're going to make him great at the Patriot way. Spend a lot of money. Super a lot of money. Jonnu Smith, former Texas tight end, take him. We don't want him. Trash. You're going to pay this man $30+ million because he caught 8 touchdowns last year. Fantastic. As a guy, former FIU Golden Panther, as a guy who saw him play live multiple times when the Titans were there. I wasn't live physically in person. I tried to, but it didn't work out that way, right? But as a guy who saw him play, his blocking skill was fine, but it's not like he was Delaney Walker, that was the seminal kind of tight end that we need, and maybe he was only better because of Arthur Smith, but you're going to overpay him. Then they're going to overpay Hunter Henry, another tight end. The starting tight end for the Chargers, who's no longer the Chargers, another $30 million contract, 20-something million guaranteed, I believe. Ridiculous coming into it. And mind you, they re-signed Cam for 1 year, $14 million. Good for Cam, because last year he was relegated to a veteran's minimum with incentives that he wasn't going to obtain with the lack of talent there. But Billy Boy, he was spending because he got Trent Brown back from the Raiders, who they're doing some weird stuff too. You got Nelson Aguilar. You talk about guys that were overpaid that should not have gotten it. And Nelson Aguilar is a fine wide receiver, but I don't think he's 2 years, $26 million for a probably guaranteed $13 million looking at his contract, considering the fact that he was dropping the ball a lot in Philly. Literally, he was getting death threats.
I mean, he was literally known for dropping the ball that when a guy was saving babies from a burning building, he mentioned Nelson Aguilar like we was catching him. Unlike Aguilar. Remember that? Y'all remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one. And so it's a very high point because he had a pretty good year with the Raiders, but it's the Raiders. We talked about actually 2 seasons ago on a show, which is weird, but I'm playing it all back because I remember this stuff. John Gruden's offense when it comes to wide receivers as outdated when he was with the Bucs and the Rays the first time. It really is run the ball and focus on one singular wide receiver to get you there. Now he has the great Darren Waller. Darren, we love you. You were like my favorite fantasy football pick. I would like buy your jersey and give it to one of my friend's children because I don't want kids, but I'll give it to their kids, as a respect to you. But it was kind of like a focal point when Henry Ruggs was injured and then when Tyrell Williams was injured, all you had was Nelson Aguilar. So did he step up to the challenge? Yeah, I don't know. But it was still something there. But they also paid Matthew Judon huge amount of money for a guy who's 28 going on 29 as a linebacker, looking at that contract, 4 years, $56 million, $32 million guaranteed. So all this coming into is the fact that they are hungry and they're at the buffet, not realizing it's all they can eat till they're full. They're saying we have to clear house. And I find that interesting because you're seeing a team overspend. And they finished 6-10 or 7-9 last year. So maybe these are probably a good starting point. They'll probably draft a wide receiver. And the only reason why they get a lot of hype is because they have been the biggest mover shakers. But, I like this arrogance a little bit from Bill, but it's not even arrogance. I feel it's like that whole revenge mode because Tom went and got a Super Bowl ring without it. But how did Tom do it? Let us not play the fact that Tom Brady went to a piss poor team. It's not as if he went to I'm trying to think of the most terrible team that I can think of that Tom would feasibly go to. I'm trying to be fair with it. But it's not like he went to the Washington Redskins. I'm just going to throw that as an example. Even though they were a playoff contender, they went at like 7-9 or 6-10. He went to the Bucks, who were all other positions in play perfect. And then he came in to make it better, which goes back to the other argument I made. How about the NFL figure out the cap? Because we mentioned the Chiefs. The Buccaneers have now been able to retain Shaq Barrett, who is 4 years, $72 million. They franchise tag Chris Godwin, so if they're able to make something come out of it, then there might be more money in, but they'll spread out that cap. They're trying to get Ndamukong Suh back, which I think would kind of be a boon for him because even though he's 34, he's not done. They got Gronk back again, a 1 year, $8 million. They got Levante David, who I like. He's like Mr. Buccaneer for a $25 million contract. So all these contracts that I'm reading, voidable years to help spread the cap figure. Someone explain to me this, because I thought the whole purpose of the cap was to help balance it out. But now you're telling me when there's a salary crunch year that has dropped, instead of letting teams suffer, because the whole incentive, remember about free agency, you guys, is depending on what tender you place them, you got picks for those positions, right? Exclusive franchise tag got you 2 first or first and third, something that gets you a second tender. But the whole basis of additional things was that if you lost free agents, you get what? Compensatory picks. And they're not always like bad picks that you get. It's not like we lose John L. Smith, we lose Corey Davis, and Corey, go be great in New York. I don't think you'll handle the media. You almost broke 1,000 yards. Who's going to throw the ball to you? I don't know, because it's either Sam Darnold or presumably Zach Wilson. I don't know. Good luck, because with wideouts, it's a bad market. Guess who hasn't been signed? Juju Smith-Schuster. So either he really wants to go back to Pittsburgh at the right money, or no one's really entertaining the money that he wants. But bringing it back is that the whole basis of the compensatory picks was to mitigate the damages. And Andrew, I know you're not as familiar with football, but I think you would agree with me in a 7th round drafts that you can get picks out of. Getting additional picks at 3 and 4 can get you quality blue chip starters. Francisco, I think you agree with me on that one too. And us losing Jonnu Smith, I'm not crying no tears on it. We can get a compensatory pick next year. We got one this year coming in. You can get a tight end, because for what Jonnu wanted to be isn't going to happen in our offense, especially after Arthur Smith left. And unless we get Kyle Pitts, who falls, and it's a possibility, especially if the Eagles keep Zach Ertz, like Kyle Pitts might fall out from Florida. If he does fall down, I would say take him, because we do need somebody to kind of catch the ball aside from A.J. Brown. But it's amazing how I think the intention of, okay, let a guy walk if you know you don't want it, or the whole purpose of the franchise tag. The franchise tag wasn't necessarily to keep a guy for a year. It was to like keep them here, let them work out a schedule. Not everybody went the route of Kirk Cousins, who got franchised twice and then bailed, right? But I'm just like so amazed, because now if we're just creating voidable contracts, because you know who else got a very big voidable contract? Taysom Hill. Why? Drew Brees retired. Drew Brees is still eating a chunk of change. And they don't have it right. Taysom Hill, even though he went 4-1 as a starter, was not really good, fellas. So instead what they did is they reworked his contract to be a 4-year, $140 million contract with the 3 years voidable, and this year he's getting $16 million. What the hell is all this stuff? Because it really does kind of feel like the rich get richer, and especially for a season which is going to be hampered because of salary cap being lowered, I think everybody could agree, just let some dudes go and then try again next year, right? Unless the only theory I have is this, and I want all y'all's opinion on it, because I have had this whole big thing of free agency, but it's not done, so I don't want to attack it fully, is this. Are we taking these appropriations because we are so unsure of what scouting in college football and this draft is going to be because of the virus? And that's why we're trying to really make this work. Because that's like my little conspiracy theory that I got going on.
Oh, Charles, you sound very far away right now.
My headphone popped out.
Oh, okay.
I got too animated and it clocked out my hand. But to reiterate my question in a very shorter form, are we taking these attempts not because we really want to retain some of these guys or really have the money signs from people, because some people just got to go. It's the way of life. Is it because we're so unsure of this draft, because we have not really got to see the whole tail of the tape of certain players, that we rather do this weird ways? Discuss. Tell me.
Trying to I mean...
And I'll look for you who you've got it. I know you got Jacoby Brissett, by the way, Francisco, because you let Fitzmagic go.
Yeah,
to
that's
be
right.
a
He's
highlight.
off. He's off.
So
Where did he go this time? Where?
he's in Washington. So to give you an
Okay,
idea,
yeah,
uh,
Washington. That's right.
the only big names is Brissett. Brissett and Tua are the same person. I'm just gonna say it now. One's a lefty, one's a righty, but the skill set is very similar. You got Isaiah Wilson from us. Go ahead, and then you got Bendarik McKinney from Houston because you got rid of Shaq Lawson and all this other fun stuff. But I can't say his name. Bendarik's really good. He was a Pro Bowler. But that's all I gotta say on those comments.
I,
And more
re-
to come, of course.
I really can't comment, to be honest, on NFL free agency. Remember, guys, I am a very pessimistic Dolphins fan, and because of that, I don't really like all this. Really doesn't matter to me because from I can't really listen to Dolphins fans on Twitter because all of them are either so unreasonable that I really can't get a gauge as to what's going on, man. If I was getting into the NFL as like a newbie right now, I'd be like, wow, this is really toxic compared to back in the day when there was no social media. I'm not even sure. So I can't.
What I would tell you is look at this as a positive route because the biggest weakness for the Dolphins last year, your defense was fine. It was just lack of a running back and then lack
Wide
of
receivers.
wide receivers. So this might give the hint that you guys are not going to F it up and go for more linemen in the draft or do anything else silly. You might actually pick up Jamar Chase or Devontae
We've
Smith.
got high draft picks, so I think the Dolphins, even if striking out
playing
here,
smart.
they will utilize all those draft picks. I mean, the team is up and coming anyways, so it's all a development process still, and we still don't know if last year was just a product of lack of preseason, virus, all that stuff, or so maybe this season will be the real gauge as to what the team really is made of. But that's all I can say.
The comment on your team essentially this. I think sometimes being the team that spends very little is the best move to make because you don't want to be the team like the Patriots who literally overspend because now you're going to you have two tight ends who should be starting and then you're just going to split them. All these playable and then you amount to just 7 and 9. Don't be that team. So I think it's really good. And plus, we're both high on Matt Flores. We like what he's doing. Is it Brian Flores?
Brian Flores.
I'm thinking, sorry. But Brian Flores, because I'm reading as I'm going, someone named Matthew, because I'm thinking Matt Judon, because that's who signed with the Patriots. But I would say that it's very good to kind of be cheap in that regard and then know that you're going to build through the draft because what does the draft guarantee you that free agency does not? Cheaper contracts for longevity. Because unless you're just vets or just, bodies, it's going to be very rare to have a multi-year contract that's not going to hit you. But in those second or third round, and my dog's howling in the background, as you're going to get that second or he was like, yeah, I agree with you, Charles. If you're going to get those second or third round picks, they're only going to cost you like $3 million for 4 years, which is a great deal. And then you just kind of use and abuse them, and then you either re-sign them to bigger contracts or you trade them out. But I think it's just interesting because part of my thing is like, are we just all doing this just to be cute? Because it feels like it. But only one team's really big spending. But it wouldn't be free agency in any sport if nobody overspent, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Then,
the Dolphins have always been that team that kind of overspent or at least signed the big splash free agent, and then nothing comes of it. So.
And then the other way of how people look at free agency is how it affects their fantasy football, which is what I mentioned myself and Andrew doing. I'm retired officially, but Andrew might come back because I know he's got an axe to grind. But one of my coworkers in the group chat, he's addicted to it. He's kind of like Freddie has like 20 different leagues. Freddie's probably like, oh my God, this person's going here, gonna draft him. Same thing with Ross. Ross, you get a shout out for it. But it always kind of makes you think because as a fan you're like, okay, this is fine, I want this guy. Like, I'm very happy we got Bud Dupree because I know we were that bad. I think he's gonna probably disappoint, but that's the expectation. But if I was still doing fantasy football, depending where certain people go to, especially those one-year contracts, looking at you, Marlon Mack, and your prove-it deal that you'll probably get to Miami because I think for some reason that makes sense. I kind of salivate at that idea. I'm retired, boys. I'm retired. I'm going like Mike Corleone, Godfather 3 every time I'm out, they bring me back in, but I'm not going back in. But sometimes I salivate those ideas where a person or team might get somebody, and then what does that mean positionally for an NFL fantasy draft? I wonder.
Okay. All right. Well, I once again, I can't. I have no idea what the hell is going on. To be honest, I can't tell you. All I know is Dolphins fans aren't too happy at this moment. But maybe, once again, maybe it's just the whole thing about the draft. So.
But when will you be happy though? Because you went tennis.
I will be happy when the Dolphins make the
you're
playoffs next week.
You're kind of
next year.
pessimistic because your Cats are doing great.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. But look, I don't get.
Dolphins were there.
I avoid as much as possible, aside from getting a legit superstar that you know is going to work out for you. I try and avoid the hype for a lot of these like free agent signings and stuff like that. And like only when something big goes down, like when you get a big 3 with the Miami Heat and stuff like that, when you know that's going to work out. That's definitely going to work out. But aside from that, like, no, sheesh. The Marlins offseason was quiet, so okay. The Panthers did their thing. Getting rid of Mike Matheson was like the only thing that was on my wish list that I wanted to get done, and they did it. And the rest of it is just freaking the cherry on top, which is what's happening right now. And the Heat kind of stayed put for the most part.
How are you with any kind of free agency? Because I think with UCF, you're a good hype man with them and everybody they recruit and stuff like that. But you being a Lightning's fan, you being a Tampa Bay Rays fan, how are you when you go into a successful season into the free agency? Because I like to think of myself as pragmatic. I enjoy when the team actually addresses a weakness. God knows the Yankees didn't do that this year, not to shift gears, but we ain't got pitchers. We got boomer bust guys. We're going to see what Kluber and Italian going to do and all that stuff. But how are you as a fan when you go into the off season? What's your reaction to all that?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't follow. I follow who is being acquired, but I don't really dive deep into who, or like who they are. Like Pat Maroon, I didn't know that he was a bruiser when he came into Tampa this past season. I probably should get a bit more on that, but I have like just the bare amount of knowledge of free agency and who's coming in. I don't want to say that it doesn't interest me, but it's just something that I don't really follow. That being said, if I see a big name comes in, I'm like, yay. I probably, or by virtue of being a mod on RCFB, pay more attention to the NFL draft just because I have to watch it to moderate it, because we do a little bit of a discussion on it. We announce who is getting drafted. Oh, speaking of someone not wearing a visor, Jamie Benn. I'm watching the Lightning Stars game right now.
Oh, he's one of the old guard. That's why.
Yeah, he's one of the last surviving few that doesn't wear a visor. That's sorry to change directions there, but I just noticed that. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I guess I follow free agencies, but don't, so I don't really have a good answer for you there.
Yeah, for me, it's just, like I said, I don't like to get overhyped for my teams going into certain seasons, because I've been burned way too many times. Aside from the, this is definitely going to work out with, the Miami Heat, sheesh, it took until now for Bobrovsky to even be decent. So, just try and avoid the hype. Not everybody's a New York Yankees fan, Charles. You guys get all the guys. Actually,
we ride or die.
Yeah, well.
But they've been hurtful.
Yeah,
they've been hurting.
Yeah, well, you guys got DJ LeMay, who's back and stuff like that. So you guys got Kluber. So we'll see. We'll see how things go down.
Speaking of free agency, though, since we are discussing it, I will say, fuck you, Jacksonville.
Oh.
Well then.
To my ears. They got your boy though.
That's what pisses me off, because I was
overpaid for your boy.
I was willing to forsake the team, even though they're gonna get Trevor Lawrence, who is supposedly a once in a generation quarterback talent. I was willing to forsake them for that because they were fucking assholes for hiring Urban Meyer and whoever that Iowa strength coach was.
Smith.
I would wash my hands of them, and now they go in and bring in the Griffin brothers. Like,
Oh,
what the
are they
hell?
getting Shaquem as well?
Shaquem? But yes,
Oh, okay. Because I knew they were getting Shaquille, and they signed him to 3 years, 44.5 with like 30 million guaranteed.
it's not official yet, but Seattle is not tendering him an offer as an RFA, so he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and the money is on him going to Jacksonville.
Yeah, big cat country on SB Nation. Here's their tweet. They expect him to sign.
Which, again, I am super happy for Shaquille. He is getting paid, and he deserves it. Shaquem is going to not get paid that much, probably, but he's still going to get paid. He's still in the league, which is awesome. I'm happy for the two of them. I'm especially happy since now they're going to be within driving distance, basically, of their hometown in St. Petersburg. So their parents can come. Their parents went to all their games in Seattle, but now it's going to be a lot easier on them to go to games. I can go to their games now, but like, son of a bitch, really?
I think he did that just to spite you.
Now I have to root for Jacksonville again?
Watch them get. Wait, where's Jameis? Where'd Jameis go?
He got 1 year, 12 million at New Orleans still.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, that would have been funny too.
Like, God damn it, Jacksonville.
Uh,
Again,
Every time you
where's
thought
Blake
you were out,
Bortles?
they
Where's he
brought
at?
him back in. Oh,
he's
he's never
in
played.
LA.
No.
okay.
Oh no, he's in Denver now.
Okay. All right.
But like,
This
This is really killing you.
do I have to renege on?
No, you can cheer for the players.
You know.
Okay,
Tom
Freddie's got
Brady's
got
championship
Bortles
ring
as a
right there
free
for you.
agent right now, so Urban, someone's available to back up over there, or I might start actually. So I don't know, depending on Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, he's gonna back up. He's gonna back up. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, look at what Andrew with a retweet right now. Look at that. 3 years later, and still loves the St. Ignatius Wolfpack men's hockey uniforms. So
They're good logos. I like it.
yeah. Well, let's. So, oh man, but yeah, you could cheer for the players. You can stay on the Buccaneers bandwagon and still cheer for the individual success of these guys. Right?
I'm not happy with Jacksonville.
Oh boy.
I was so close to not having to give a damn about them anymore, and now I have to go crawling back in some way, shape, or form. Like, no, why? Just leave me alone.
Oh boy.
And again, this is personal. This is on my personal thing. I am stoked that Shaquille is getting the money he deserves. He deserves to get paid, and you know, outside of Miami or Tampa, and I don't know what their secondary situations are, but you know, that's the best fit for him, just for his family, being close to home. I think Shaquille just got a home in the Tampa area. It's like, you know, it's a perfect fit for him. Jacksonville needs all the help they can get because they suck. They're getting Trevor Lawrence though, so that should be
2 months on the Buccaneers bandwagon. Look what happens.
Well, I've said for
Oh no, everybody says that about the Jaguars, even their own fans. So don't worry.
they really do.
Yes, they do. I mean, did you see the secret?
I was willing to live with the suckiness.
Did you see the secret base collapse video for them?
Not yet.
Okay, you got to watch that. They got to collapse
Like,
for them.
I was willing to live with the suckiness. I've dealt with sucky teams before and have not jumped the bandwagon. Or I have not jumped away from the team. I didn't jump away from the Lightning when they were swept. And swept by the Blue Jackets in 2019. I didn't jump away from UCF when they went 0-12. What other teams? The Rays had a pretty down stretch there.
The Rays are really hard to cheer for.
I am.
I mean,
fan, for God's sake.
Gosh darn it! What?
Andrew's like the only loyal Rays fan I know. So
Yeah, and he's simultaneously just hates their owner so much.
That shows you that I do not let go of a team lightly.
Yeah.
But it's like it's the morals of it that I just couldn't stand. But now they have to bring back two of my favorite players, and now I have to pay attention to them. Screw you, Urban Meyer. Screw you, Shad Khan. Let me go in peace, please. I beg you.
That's how I feel about Tony Khan getting Sting to wrestle.
That's a good segue.
We're both getting double teamed by the Khans.
That's a good segue. Because we are at the last few minutes of the show. You ready?
I'm ready. Actually, it might be brief. We'll see. Welcome, everybody, to your weekly Truplex The Cage with Charles. Reminder, wrestling is not fake. It is scripted. It is a stage fight. It is poetry in motion. It is just bloody beatdown sometimes. It's about chasing glory, making a name for yourself, doing more than instead of wrestling in front of the bingo fans in the bingo hallways and just doing some backyard wrestling with your boys because you're bored and you want to imitate your favorite wrestlers and personas. Today's kind of a big day, guys. Because take away the whole men and women chasing championships and beating the holy hell out of each other, part of my usual disclaimer. It's March 16th, right? What does that translate to? 316. Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass. It's Stone Cold Day. Allegedly. Apparently. I didn't know it was a real full-out holiday, but I know everybody kind of talks about it. So in March, you get excited for three things, right? You don't count spring break. We're out of school. It doesn't work for us. You get excited for Pie Day, 3.14, eat some pie. You get excited for St. Patty's Day, which is mañana. Sounds kind of counterintuitive to say the Spanish language, but hey, I do what I can because I do what I won't. Of course, my HP support assistant says I need to restart now. Bad timing. Let's not do that. And then we get excited for 316 Day when I actually have my little segment on the show for wrestling to kind of talk about Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass. So thoughts on Stone Cold? Yes. What? There you go. Thank you. And anybody who heard me say that's part of his thing that was popular too going into it. But we love that breaking the glass. We love chugging the beer. And when you were a kid, 1997, right? 97 episode, 1997. That's when Stone Cold Steve Austin really came into effect because I believe he was King of the Ring in 96 when he beat Jake the Snake Plumber. Let me take a moment to make sure that I'm right about this because Lord knows if I'm wrong, yeah, he won it. 1996. There you go. Hey, what was important about 1997? I think that's when he won his first WWF title in 1997 in WrestleMania 17. There's so many WrestleMania.
This is Sports Goofs number 97. It's all coming together.
It's not 17. That's when he went against The Rock and the hell.
Yeah.
But WrestleMania 1997. One second, I gotta verify because I think that was his first one against Shawn Michaels.
If not, it's all coming together on the 97th episode.
Yeah, I know. No, it was Taker at Psycho Sid. Decent match, but it was... Oh, no, but it's the best Stone Cold Steve Austin match. Bret Hart, Steve Austin doing the double turn. I knew I wrote it down in my little notes coming into it. March 23rd, 1997. So this time, somebody do the math for me, please. 20-something years ago. Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin went at us in a submission match. Ken Shamrock was... special refereeing. For those who don't know, Ken Shamrock was kind of a big deal back then because he was the former back in the day guy, kind of coming in, Mr. MMA translating into it. It ended in a double turn. Austin, in a puddle of his own blood, refuses to submit, passes out, creates that whole full badassery. A year later, wins the Royal Rumble, I believe, in January, and then goes on to defeat Shawn Michaels in WrestleMania 14. Wins it and then has some pretty good runs there. Stone Cold, not my favorite wrestler. But some things that are important about Stone Cold Steve Austin to Charles, one of my first wrestling figurines. I was a 7 or 8 year old boy, Toys R Us for his birthday. Folks were like, come on, boy, we're going to go. That's my parents love me. They don't say boy. I say boy more to my nephew than anything. But we're in the car, and I had just got into wrestling. And, you always remember your first figures, I would say. Your first action figures, dolls, whatever the hell you call them, they're toys to me. I don't have a name preference to them. But you always kind of remember what you buy, whether it's your first Ninja Turtle, Raphael, Space Astronaut outfit. That's how we know. Your first Dragon Ball Z character. I think I had the mini packs of the Gokus. You buy like the pack before. It's Goku, Krillin, all that stuff. Power Rangers, blue, red. Those are the best. I remember going to the Toys R Us, buying 2 wrestlers. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Undertaker. And man, that led to a lot of money spent, a lot of hours going through. And I would come home, do my homework, and play wrestling, especially on Monday nights, because Monday nights when wrestling was going on. You had the ratings war going on after that. You had WCW versus WWF, Monday Night Raw versus Nitro. Boy, I would do the crossovers of the 2 brands. I would have I loved it. It was great. Awesome, even though it's not my full-time favorite. One day I will give you guys the real list. I have to really think about it. There's important things I enjoyed match-wise. Him versus Brett in that submission match was great. Him versus Owen when Owen Hart broke his freaking neck. Not that neck break of Owen Hart. He died because of that. We don't count that one. I'm talking about when Owen went for the sit-down pile driver and it broke Steve Austin's neck. And he went. That's right. Owen Hart died on public TV. Never forget that, kids, because some things are weird. That's why when Matt Hardy got attacked, or not got attacked, but when he was wiped out clean at AEW pay-per-view, that's why Charles was like, hey, stop the match, but they let it go on. I still have gripes with that 7 months later. But he still continued that match with a badly roll-up on Owen Hart to win. Other highlights, I don't know if I liked his Shawn Michaels match at Mania, but it was cool. He had a little semi-feud with Mike Tyson. I liked his 3 Stages of Hell match with Triple H for the WWF Championship. Him and The Rock have put on some bangers. WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 15. Also, other highlighted matches, I think he was great at. Him and Kurt Angle when he tapped out for Angle. That was good. He was also a little bit background on him. He was what was he? Stunning Steve Austin when he was going his transition of WCW to ECW. And then when he first came into WWF, when he went fully bald, he wasn't Stone Cold when he was bald. He was the ringmaster. Ted DiBiase's kind of like heir apparent. They even gave him the $1 million belt. Kind of a big thing, but they had to see what worked well for him. So he even adopted the $1 million dream, the Cobra Clutch chokehold that he had. So he had like a historic career. He always kind of had it. Guy had great cardio in the ring, decent shape, could tell a story like a SOB, catchphrases galore. The detriment that he has done to wrestling, though, the unforgivableness of wrestling, he created and led to the what chant. I personally hate the what chant. There's any benefit of not having crowds, exactly, any crowds for the last year is that when anyone's cutting a promo, they have to like, what? It was great when he was doing it. But Lord, let me tell you something. Fans are dicks. I'm just going to say it right now, myself included. I remember being live in person when people are trying to cut promos. You still people get it. Now, some heels are great. My favorite one, the only person I think, there's 2 of them. Alexa Bliss said, because the crowd was going saying what, she goes, say what if you think Alexa Bliss is a great wrestler at all. And she was a heel at that time. My favorite one's always going to be The Undertaker, though, because you don't mess with Taker, in my opinion. Taker is like gold. If Roberto Clemente and Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, they're all attributed to their respected sports, hockey and baseball and all this other stuff. Hank Aaron, guys that we've talked about past that we revered. Let's all y'all. Taker is up there. That you don't try to trash talk. They were doing the what to him. I don't think Austin was obviously there, but this is the benefit of what he has done and how he's kind of like stuck into the fans even all this time. And he's saying what? And Taker goes this, let me tell you something. Say what if you sleep with your sister? And people were saying what? And it's like, ooh, got him. That's always going to be my favorite thing. But Austin and Taker had some good matches coming into it. He was always kind of like a focal point. He has a great career. Like I said, not my favorite wrestler, but since we're here on 316 Day, I'm gonna give some love to it. I'm gonna give him like, Stone Cold high five. He comes in, stuns people. I think he stunned Donald Trump, but he was also known for the possibly one of the best storylines out there. Because if you talk about Attitude Era, it was him versus Vince McMahon, plain and simple. He was basically going against the authority, going against the big man. Vince McMahon is egomania. The problem is The other detriment is because I would feel that it was so successful. This is why Vince would have to intrude himself, or his children have to intrude themselves on my television. Because I'll tell you now, I don't like the McMahons on my TV show, guys. And this is where we're segueing into wrestling, to real life wrestling. But I'm gonna say this now: Stone Cold, Happy 316 Day. I don't really drink beer because it's not my thing. But whatever you drink, I'll crack open. Now he does wine, I think, or no, he has his own little IPA. He has other shows like Stone Cold Island or something like that, and Stone Talk and all these podcasts. His podcasts are great, though. I like his podcast when he has other wrestlers there because it really kind of talk to him, and I like learning the nature of the business. From what they come from his perspective. So here's you, Steve Austin. I'll crack open a cold one for you. Wrestling. We mentioned the McMahons. WrestleMania season's coming up. I don't care, guys. Like, I care, but I don't care. It's in Tampa. It's going to be split into 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. And in that week is also going to be NXT TakeOver. And they're going to get a 2-night event. This is so much wrestling that I don't think you guys understand the burden that I am carrying. But for you, I will do it. But my problem with WrestleMania, we have a pay-per-view this week. And this is kind of the problem with it. This pay-per-view is going to have a McMahon on there. Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman. No one wanted the story. No one asked for the story. The whole basis of it is Shane likes being a bully to a 7-foot monster who just should eat him alive. And we know it's going to continue because Shane needs to have that yearly McMahon match. He didn't have it last year. He's got to have it this year. I don't want it. I want, now that I'm getting, I feel like a baby baller, but now that I'm getting wrestling, 2-night event, and you've actually had a year to kind of plan it, to split the event as opposed to last year, which you just like, we're gonna do it for the fans, but now we're gonna do some stuff. You have real storyline feuds. Like each match, there should be no squash matches, boys. Nothing should be under 15 minutes. I know my standards, but this is where I'm going at, right? But Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman is not what I want. They're going to wrestle at Fastlane this weekend. The Fastlane card is not even complete. This is kind of like my problem with it. Vince has gotten sloppy because really what he cares about, his logic's sound. But what does he care about? He cares about the idea about the ratings to appease, obviously, Fox and USA. And he says that people who are going to watch regardless. But what's the thing about Fastlane that kind of matters? It's Peacock's first launch. Because remember those $1 billion bucks? You know, you guys are worried about them stimulus checks. Vince McMahon's got real FU money going on here. Basically, for those who need the summary, WWE Network sold for $1 billion, licensing rights, they get it back, reverted to him. Vince is a genius of the business match, seriously. This pandemic has been fantastic for him. But it's going to appear at Fastlane. I don't care about the card. I really don't. We're not even getting Bobby Lashley wrestling, you guys. Because on Monday Night Raw, for some reason, Drew McIntyre just beats up Miz and just goes to Bobby's like, yeah. And Bobby's like, sure. I'm like, come on, do something. You could at least put Miz versus Drew McIntyre in a #1 contenders match. We all know Fastlane is a throwaway pay-per-view, but you got to give me a reason to watch it. You got to give me something to watch it. Even if you only make it like a 2-hour pay-per-view, you got to make it matter. You got to make, like, Drew can't just point at Bobby and be like, I'm taking that title. You lost your title. Why are you getting another opportunity? If you win a #1 contenders match, then that makes sense. Sloppy storytelling, but not the sloppiest. The matches on the card, Big E versus Apollo Crews. I haven't talked about this, and I'll keep it very brief. Basically, Apollo turned heel. He basically adapted his Nigerian heritage, which concerns me because I think Vince sometimes loves stereotypes a little bit too much. Because if you ever heard Apollo Crews talk before, he does not like sound like he's from Nigeria. And so now they gave him an accent. So I just expect Vince and all his cultural denseness to just have like Apollo scream out Wakanda forever. And I'm like, come on, Vince, don't do this. Because Vince has that history, man. You had Crime Time, Nation of Domination, and Apollo is a talent. And this heel turn has been great for him, especially if he wins the Intercontinental Championship from Big E. But I don't want it at the expense that he has to adopt an accent now. Am I the only one who feels like it's just bad for business? I don't know. Heel Apollo is good for business, but the minute you put on the Nigerian accent, I'm like, ooh, buddy. And that was his thing in the Indies when he was Uha Nation, and I get that. But I don't even think he would cut promos in a different accent. So someone creative just can be like, oh, let him be proud of his heritage. Why does he have to adapt an accent? That's the same thing to me, who is Argentine, Colombian, and I'm just like, well, and you hear me speak like, you know, whatever the equivalent might that be. It's not who I am, but I have to create and tap into identity. I don't get it. whatever. It's just one of those things I've always had a gripe with Vince about because it feels like the desperate play. But that's one of the matches going into it.
I like this tweet right here. The real acting were those guards behind Apollo Crews not laughing because of his botched accent.
Yeah, it was tough. Like when we get off the show, go listen to how Apollo Crews usually talks. He's a nice guy, but he does not. He's not even.
It sounds like what I would have Eddie Murphy and Coming to America. Is it like that?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh boy.
My father used to say, my grandfather used to say, it doesn't work. And let me give you an insight, because this ain't the only one. We love Kofi Kingston. You guys were with me with Kofi Mania. Mm-hmm. Kofi, when he first came to the WWE, was built from being Jamaica. So what did Kofi have? A fake Jamaican accent. Kofi's from Boston, man. Like, he's got heritage. We all have heritage. But that ain't who they are. And unless that's part of the gimmick that they choose to, don't assign it to them. Because I still remember, and when we talk about cultural, and some people will say Charles is not cultural insensitivity. I think it's just Vince being a fan of stereotyping. Because what do we remember? And I talked about it many, many cages ago. We're bringing it all back together. The Mexicools, super crazy, Juventud Guerrera, and then Psychosis coming down trackers. Don't buy into this for Vince. Make him earn it. Fastlane, big money match though. Y'all know I'm going to watch it for Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, especially if Edge is going to be a special enforcer. He's having his first match in 10 years on SmackDown against Jey Uso because Jey Uso is a rabid dog, always trying to appease Roman. And I think there's going to be some chicanery because I don't know for sure. But I believe, boys, that they are going to put Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match at Mania. It's not just going to be Edge and Roman. And I'm okay with it if Edge isn't ready to fully carry that match himself. Because I think the story will be great leading to the pay-per-view, but does Edge still have the chutzpah yet? You know, he's still a little rusty. And I noticed that when he was wrestling Randy Orton on that Raw. But wrestling is so far away.
Shout out on the correct usage of Yiddish right there. Very well done.
I don't even know what I said. I feel like my wrestling ancestors just invaded me. So
didn't you say chutzpah?
Yeah, I did say chutzpah.
That's Yiddish.
I know it's Yiddish. I don't know what I say sometimes. I get into this, guys, and it's like this is ultra. So for my weebs out there, because I've been watching a lot of anime, this is Ultra Instinct, Charles. You know, I am at a level where I just see everything. I'm too quick for you. But moving away from WrestleMania, Fastlane's coming up. I'll watch it for you guys because it's an obligation. NXT was so good last week. I told you guys about Tuesday, why I hate sometimes doing the show on a Tuesday when NXT is on Wednesday and I have to remember everything. But I made sure to write some notes. On it, mental notes. Because what did I tell you guys about NXT last week? There was going to be 2 title opportunities. 2 title shots. Io Shirai versus Toni Storm for the women's NXT title. That was good. Ended with Toni Storm tapping out to a crossface. There was some controversy going around because they were like, oh, we advertised for 2, but it's be 3. Because what do we know? We mentioned a couple of shows ago. They had the Dusty Rhodes Classic tag teams for the women's and the men's. Whoever won got a tag team title opportunity. Well, we know from the prior week, 2 weeks ago, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending against Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, and it ended up in some weird controversy. So what did NXT do for the women's tag team? They announced last week that they were introducing their own NXT Women Tag Team Championships, and they awarded them to whom? Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. And then they lost those titles 45 minutes later. Weird ass booking, H. I get the idea that your whole thing is about, hey, the women's division is strong and our tag division is strong compared to the main roster's tag division, which is inconsistent, bad booking. And I completely 100% agree with you. But all you could have done was just have Raquel and Dakota, or even Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. Shout out. Congratulations, ladies. You are now the 2nd NXT championships or women tag team championships. Those belts are looking great. But I don't think the first thing you had to do was award a title to somebody. You could have just made the Dusty Rhodes Classic about becoming the first ever women's tag team championship. But now you award it to them on a weird pinfall from a couple weeks ago or submission, and then they lose it 45 minutes later to Ember and Shotzi. What the hell?
Seems like the meme from South Park, and it's gone.
Yeah, and it's gone. And then, you know, the other meme from South Park is H and Vince rubbing their nipples. So we're sorry, because I just have to take it. That's essentially what it is. I just have to deal with it. But part of the problem is that there's too many titles right now. And I still feel that the roster's not at full capacity because of the pandemic and also the firing certain people. to consider. Like personally, I don't want WrestleMania for the men's tag team. I wish it's a unification bout. I want the Dirty Dogs of Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler versus the New Day, who just won it. But now they might lose to AJ and Almas. But that WrestleMania match has already been announced. But I'll get more of that in detail. I don't want to go too far ahead. But that's the point. Too many titles. It's like, it doesn't mean much. Do I think the women NXT deserve a tag title? Yeah, but the problem is the women's main roster, being Raw and SmackDown, already have NXT, or not NXT, but women's tag team titles. So we really could have had the NXT women win it, keep it, and then eventually lose it. But whatever. But the main event, boys, it was so good. We had talked about it. Finn Balor, Adam Cole, Part 3, NXT Championship, some small recaps. Basically, Adam ruined everything. He broke up the Undisputed Era just to get Finn's NXT title. Match was so good. And I hate TV matches for championships sometimes, fellas, because commercial breaks and picture-in-picture. I hate picture-in-picture. Some people love it. I hate it because part of the quality of a picture-in-picture takes away from, one, aside from me seeing the action, I don't hear the announcers fully, right? You don't get all of it. So you lose some of that emotion. Imagine when the crowd comes in, doesn't work. I was never a fan of it. But that match was just so good. Like, had me thinking that Adam Cole was going to win it. If Adam won, I have a little bit of a chub because does that mean am I getting Adam and Kyle for the NXT title? They're going back and forth. Kyle comes out looking at Adam. Adam's getting spooked. Finn jumps over, does his moonsault over the top, or does his little senton over the top dive, does the 1916 hanging DDT on the outside, and then just finishes Adam off. And I'm like, ooh. And then Kyle comes in, and I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it, because what is wrestling, boys? It's a soap opera sometimes. And he's like, oh, I didn't mean to. And he tries to low blow Kyle. Kyle blocks it, beats the holy hell out of Adam, tries to suplex him on the steel ramps, because that's what he did a couple weeks ago to Kyle to knock Kyle out. Refs break it up. Kyle chases Adam, and as Finn's sitting there, who is right behind Finn? Bros. Karrion Kross, the man who never lost the title because he beat Keith Lee, I believe, back in August, and then had his shoulder separated and had to vacate the title. But who won it? Finn Balor. He's coming for that belt. And I was ready, man. It was so good because I called all that stuff sitting there watching it and seeing it happen. And all Finn does, who's like 5'10" on a good day, $185. That's the thing about wrestling. They'll lie about their weight. Like Finn probably only weighs like 15 pounds more than me. And then you get Karrion Kross. That man scares me. He's like 6'3", 280 on a good day. And he just got his arms crossed. And Finn just looks like, what took you so long? And I'm like, boner time, boys. That's what it is, because that's going to be what Takeover is going to be that week, the same week as WrestleMania. Stand and Deliver. I kind of like the name. I kind of hate the name because I like Stand and Deliver. It's a great movie. You guys should watch it.
That's what I was thinking when I'm like, okay.
Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips, Edward James Olmos.
How can I teach these kids?
How can I teach these kids? So I feel like that's going to be Triple H, because Triple H. Look, you're going big balls because, let's talk about Stand and Deliver and making the comparison. You're going to Vince McMahon. It's like, how can I teach this old man what real wrestling is like? I'm about that. I'm about it. I'm loving it. AEW tomorrow's St. Patty's. They're doing their whole St. Patty's genre going on. A couple matches that go on there that I'll watch. And this is hard because NXT thankfully cooled off last week for me, so I can watch this because some good matches. Eddie Kingston, John Moxley, he'll beat me up if I say that, is going to go against the Good Brothers, get some revenge there after the AEW dud that they did at Revolution. They're going to have, oh no, please don't tell me my brain has something. Oh no, they're going to have Cody Rhodes versus El Pento Zero M. They don't go Miedo, they say Zero M. He used to be El Pento, whatever his name was. They changed his name like 3 times, and I can't get into it. I can barely speak English, so now I have to try to give authenticity to the name for Spanish. Why are you doing this to me? That should be a good match. I think Cody's also going to be out for a little bit because his wife Brandy is actually pregnant. So typically what you do in normal wrestling storyline, hurt the daddy, have him be gone for a couple weeks, go be there for the birth of your child. I don't know when she's due, so I'm speculating. And then the main event's going to be Dr. Britt Baker, Adam Cole's girlfriend. Look at that, connected to worlds, right? Versus Thunder Rosa in a lights out non-sanctioned match. These two have been feuding for a while. Should be interesting. NXT, I don't even know what's going on tomorrow, to be honest with you. And then New Japan, just give you an update. The King, Minoru Suzuki, lost to Kenta. Fine. You guys know I like the King. I like Kenta too, but I like me some Minoru. But Shingo Takagi versus Kenta. Please, sir. Like, it is finger looking good because, Shingo is my choice for winning the the Japan Cup. It might lead to Shingo versus Jay White, and he's been dubbing it as the J Cup coming into it, and that should be a great match. But the whole purpose of winning the Japan Cup will get them April 4th a title shot against Kota Ibushi for his now unified IWGP. Is it IWGP or is it IGWP? I can never remember. I think it's IWGP. Yeah, International Wrestling Grand Prix Unified Heavyweight Championship. See, I brought it all together, boys. And if it's Shingo's not going to win. I'm just say that right now. But Shingo versus Kota, I can't say I've seen a lot of those matches. And what I've been doing for you guys is sending you some New Japan stuff to see, like some of the stiffening and some of the promos and some of the intensity. Boy, that should be a good match. People can bust their necks, but I'm excited. But we don't know yet because first we got to go to Shingo and Kenta, and we'll see what happens. And that's it on this Andrade wants to get released. Vince doesn't want to do it, which means he's going to give Andrade like a fake title to appease him, and then Andrade will leave when the contract's up. That's usually the process. But yeah, happy 316 Day, kids. It's more important than St. Patty's Day and Pie Day. And that's all I got for you this week on the cage. Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. Somebody did. Francisco's like, what is going on in this wrestling? Listen, if I will tell you this, for even non-casuals, non-fans, for anybody who never thought, your grandmother who would probably think it's a sin to say hell knows who Stone Cold is and what his importance is in wrestling. That is transcendence right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the reason I knew it was this day was because of ESPN's. Their Twitter account was what tweeted it out, so there you go. It's mainstream. All right, so that is it for Sports Goofs number 97. Man, we are almost there. So we have about 3 more episodes to go in this season. A big finale for the 100th one. Andrew will probably try and wrangle somebody up in the next couple weeks as well. See what he can do. Get down on there.
Doug's gonna be on the show, right?
Huh?
Doug's gonna be on the show, right?
Yeah, well, that's for that's the special guest for the last one. But I'm talking about we still got 98 and 99 as well.
True.
So get that rope, get that lie, get that back of the trunk nice and clean, Andrew, and you just kind of stick them in there and then force them on down over to our show. All right, do what you got to do.
Basically.
All right, we know you have the means. You got those rubber gloves and everything. He knows how to clean up the crime scene. All right, so man, I have to develop like a show canon because right now Andrew's a violent criminal. Charles gives cold jobs and Henry Handy to his favorite players, gives them kisses on the lips. I'm
a daddy. That's why I am. Right? Is that what you call me?
Yeah. Yeah,
Daddy True. So a side note, that was like a joke wrestling name if I was a manager, so I'll live to it.
Yeah, I'm the only person I really gush and crush on is Jimmy Butler, and I'm already
Derek Jeter.
Yeah, well, no, I worship Derek Jeter as our Lord and Savior. That is a religion. Okay, yeah, that's right. I am a religious zealot for Derek Jeter. So there you go, guys.
Can I call you a fan of the man, and then you could just insert whatever man it is?
Maybe. Oh, Jimmy Butler's my man crush Monday, every Monday.
Listen, heat shout out. 4 straight wins, right? 20 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 in the East.
Yeah.
Starting to look like a competent team.
Yeah.
Are we saying that the 76ers are not frauds, but frauds yet? Can I?
Don't worry. I'd love to get Doug's take on that in the 100th episode. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. Have a good night, everybody. Watch, comment, like, subscribe, whatever you have to do. Follow us. Charles usually does this. Follow us on the tweets, FGOGR, Dan Frijoles, Charles the True, or @sports_goofs. We got a website, got a podcast, we got a video streaming channel. We got everything. If you can't find us, we will find you. Bye-bye, everybody. Ciao.
Good night, everyone.
Take care.